Welcome to Lead with Linnea, where we talk about real leadership for real people in the real world. I'm Linnea Rader, and I've spent 2 decades in public service leadership. From accounting to my current role as the Director of Finance and Human Resources, I've seen pretty much everything. The spectacular successes, the painful failures, and everything in between that makes leadership both challenging and incredibly rewarding. Here's the thing. Leadership is not reserved for people with fancy titles or corner offices. Every single one of us can be a leader in our personal and professional lives. Whether you're managing a team of 50 or just trying to figure out how to navigate office politics, whether you're a frontline worker or sitting around a boardroom table, leadership skills matter. My approach? I skip the fluff and get straight to what really works. You won't find theoretical frameworks or feel-good platitudes here. Instead, you'll get practical, tested strategies from someone who's been in the trenches, made the mistakes, and learned the hard lessons so that you don't have to. Through Lead with Linnea, I provide leadership development training and coaching because I'm passionate about helping people discover their authentic leadership potential. And honestly, some days you need to laugh to keep from crying, and some days you just need someone to tell you the truth about what leadership really looks like. So whether you're listening while you commute, taking a walk, or just need someone to remind you that you've got this, I'm here for you. So let's dive in and talk about what it really takes to lead with authenticity, impact, and maybe a little bit of sanity. Ready? Let's go. Know thyself, the self-awareness foundation of emotional intelligence. I was a bull in a china shop. Early in my career, if I had a question, I asked it. Didn't think twice about how to phrase it, how it would be received, or whether it might upset someone. I just charged ahead, oblivious to the wreckage I was leaving behind. People would put up walls, I'd run straight into them, confused about why these colleagues were protecting their knowledge from this young kid who apparently didn't need to know everything I was asking for. At least that's how they saw it. I can't pinpoint the exact moment I became self-aware. There was no dramatic revelation, no mentor pulling me aside with the harsh truths, but I've had plenty of those cringeworthy, oh my God moments since then. Like when I stumbled across old emails I'd sent early in my career. I read them now and physically wince. I can't believe I worded it that way. What was I thinking? No wonder people got defensive when I asked questions. I was plowing through without any regard for what anyone else was doing or working on, completely blind to how I was landing. And that's the thing about self-awareness, or rather the lack of it. You don't know what you don't know. And until you develop it, you're operating with a massive blind spot that affects every interaction, every decision, and every relationship. So what self-awareness actually means? Self-awareness isn't just knowing you exist or being able to list your strengths and weaknesses on a resume. Honestly, it's hardly any of that. It's the ability to understand how you're showing up in real time, how others are experiencing you, and how your internal state is affecting your external impact. It's reading the room. It's catching yourself mid-sentence. It's recognizing when your approach isn't working and adjusting before you lose the room entirely. One of the training programs I facilitate is called Building Blocks. It's all about teams working together to create a foundation of expectations everyone can agree to. I have questions I ask each time, and the answers are often similar across groups, but there's no script. Participants can get defensive if I don't phrase things properly or set the ground rules carefully. So I have to constantly read the room. Constantly. Even mid-sentence, I sometimes have to readjust how I'm making a statement. If I'm not hyper aware of the feelings in the room, the entire workshop could shut down. Participants could clam up. The whole thing would flop. And the entire team wouldn't end up with the expectations and goals they need to move forward. That is self-awareness in action. It's not a one-time achievement you unlock and then you're just done. It's an ongoing practice of monitoring yourself, reading others, and adjusting accordingly. Why self-awareness is the foundation. In my previous post about emotional intelligence, I talked about how emotional intelligence is your leadership superpower. But here's what I didn't dive deep enough into. You can't build any other aspect of emotional intelligence without self-awareness first. How can you manage your emotions if you don't recognize what you're feeling or what triggers you? How can you empathize with others if you can't understand how your own experiences shape your perspective? How can you build strong relationships if you're oblivious to how people react to you? Self awareness is the foundation. Everything else in emotional intelligence builds on top of it. When self awareness is missing, the lack of self awareness doesn't just affect the person who's missing it, it creates ripples that damage teams, erode trust, and undermine effectiveness. I once worked with a supervisor who desperately wanted to be friends with the crew members. He would just barely maintain confidentiality and likely cross that line more than once. To talk to crew members about other crew members' situations, he became the hub of the gossip wheel. He liked feeling as though he had information that others didn't. In his mind, he was building relationships. He thought he was gaining popularity and trust. The crew saw it completely differently. They realized he was a joke. They knew that if they told him anything, it would go everywhere. Instead of building trust, he was destroying it. The gap between how he saw himself and how others experienced him, that's the self awareness gap. And it was massive. Here's the brutal part. He had no idea. He genuinely believed his approach was working. Meanwhile, his team was actively working around him, keeping him out of the loop on everything important because they knew he couldn't be trusted with information. That's what happens when self awareness is missing. You think you're connecting when you're actually alienating. You think you're leading when you're actually undermining your own authority. Building self awareness. My journey. My real education in self awareness starting in a college class about emotional intelligence. It was part of my master's program through Central Michigan University, and honestly, it changed everything. That's where I first took the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 assessment and actually understood what emotional intelligence was and how to build it. The assessment gave me the language for things I'd been experiencing but couldn't name. But here's what really developed my self awareness. I shut up. I started listening more and talking less. I started watching others instead of just focusing on getting my own point across. When you aren't always talking, you see and hear a lot more. You notice how people react to different communication styles. You pick up on the subtle shifts in a room when someone says something that lands wrong. You start to recognize patterns in what makes conversations productive versus what shuts them down. The components of self awareness. Self awareness isn't one thing, it's several distinct capabilities working together. Emotional awareness, recognizing what you're feeling in the moment, not just I'm upset, but understanding the nuance. Am I frustrated, disappointed, anxious, overwhelmed? The more precisely you can identify your emotions, the better you can manage them. Accurate self assessment, understanding your actual strengths and limitations, not the version of yourself you wish existed. I thought I was being helpful with my replacement when I transitioned roles. Turns out I was micromanaging. Accurate self assessment means being honest about the gap between your intentions and your impact. Recognizing those triggers. What situations consistently push your buttons? When you know your triggers, you can prepare for them instead of being blindsided by your own reactions. Understand your impact. How do people experience you? Not how you think they experience you, but how they actually do. The supervisor gossiping with the crew had zero understanding of his impact. He thought he was building relationships. They thought he was a liability. Practical steps to build self awareness. If you're recognizing yourself in the bull in a china shop description, or if you're wondering whether you have blind spots, spoiler, you do. We all do. But here's where to start. Get assessed. The Emotional Intelligence 2.0 assessment was a game changer for me. These assessments give you objective data about how you operate. Get assessed and then actually read the results instead of skimming through them looking for validation. Ask for feedback, real feedback, not how am I doing, which invites polite ego stroking, non answers. Ask specific questions. What's one thing I do that makes your job harder? When have you seen me shut down a conversation without meaning to? Make it safe for people to be honest, and then don't punish them when they are. Practice the pause. Before you send that email, before you respond in that meeting, before you react to the frustration, Pause. Even just 5 seconds. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Is my current approach going to get me where I want to be? Review your interactions. At the end of the day or the end of the week, think back on your conversations and meetings. What went well? What didn't? When did people seem to shut down or get defensive? Those old emails that make me cringe now, they're actually valuable learning tools. Watch and listen more than you talk. Stop dominating conversations. Stop thinking about your response while someone else is talking. Actually, pay attention. You'll be amazed at what you notice when you're not focused on getting your own words out. Find someone who will be straight with you. A mentor, a coach, a trusted colleague. Someone who cares about you enough to tell you the hard truths. I've built a team that will absolutely call me out if I'm slipping back into old habits. That only happens if you create the safety for other people to be honest. The ongoing work. Self-awareness isn't a destination. It's not like you do some work, achieve self-awareness, and then you're done. It's an ongoing practice. I still catch myself sometimes mid-interaction, realizing I'm not showing up the way I want to. I have moments where I look back and think, I could have handled that better. The difference now is that I'm paying attention. I'm noticing faster. I'm adjusting quicker. I'm open to learning that I'm wrong about how I'm coming across. And that's really what self-awareness is, the willingness to question your own perceptions, to accept that your impact might not match your intentions, and to keep working on closing that gap. Without self-awareness, you're flying blind. You might have all the technical skills in the world, but if you don't understand how you show up, how your emotions affect your decisions, and how others experience you, you're going to keep running into those walls. With self-awareness, everything else becomes possible. You can manage your emotions because you can recognize them. You can empathize with others because you understand your own perspective isn't the only one. You can build strong relationships because you understand how you affect people. Know thyself. It's ancient wisdom for a reason, and it's still the foundation of everything else in leadership. So how has developing self-awareness changed your leadership? What practices have helped you see yourself more clearly? Share your experiences in the comments. Thank you for joining me today on Lead with Linnea. I hope something we talked about resonates with you and gives you a tool you can actually use in your leadership journey. Remember, leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional, authentic, and willing to keep learning and growing. You're going to face situations you never saw coming, make decisions that feel impossible, and sometimes wonder if you're cut out for this whole leadership thing. It's normal, it's human, and that's exactly why we need leaders like you who are willing to do the hard work. If today's episode sparked some ideas about training or coaching for you or your team, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at leadwithlinnea@leadwithlinnea.com or give me a call at 269-621-5282. Whether you're looking for one-on-one coaching, team training, or need someone to speak at your next event, let's talk about how we can help you and your people become the leaders your organization needs. You can find more resources, read my blog post, and learn more all about my services at leadwithlinnea.com. As always, carry social kindness with you everywhere you go. This world needs you and your positive mindset. Until next time, keep leading and keep growing.